The other thing that we did, and I'm glad you keep bringing these up because it reminds me of other things we accomplished. We watch what is happening right now with the President of the United States. Not once, but now we're finding in 2 different locations classified information just out there in the open. It just goes to prove, and we're finding out now, after being sworn in, that this was discovered before the election. Another faux pas by the Biden administration, but treating law differently based upon your political beliefs. Treats President Trump one way, but treats President Biden a whole different way. That's why we had to provide a new entity from our church style to look after the weaponization of what's gone on, that you want to equal playing of the law to all Americans. Sorry, let him finish.
Do you see this matter regarding the classified documents found in President Biden's home going in before that committee?
I see it could go from that committee or others, but I think Congress has to investigate this. Here's an individual that's been in office for more than 40 years. Here's an individual that sat on 60 Minutes that was so concerned about President Trump's documents locked in behind, and now we find it just as a vice president, keeping it for years out in the open in different locations. I do not think any American believes that justice should not be equal to all. And we found from this administration what happened before every single election, whatever comes out that they utilize to try to falsify it, they try to have different standards for their own beliefs. That doesn't work in America.
Do you see a difference in that former President Trump denied repeated requests for all of his classified documents for more than a year, and President Biden's lawyers turned in documents after finding them?
No, because from one standpoint, they knew the documents were there. They actually asked President Trump to put another lock on them, so they were locked. You look at President Biden. He wasn't president. He was vice president. He held these in different locations right out in the open. He criticized President Trump. Did he utilize the Justice Department to raid President Trump? Did you think that was right? They knew this has happened to President Biden before the election, but they kept it a secret from the American public. He goes on 60 Minutes, criticizes President Trump, even knowing what he has done, and he wasn't president at the time. Now we find another location that it's at, but he refused to answer. His press secretary won't answer the questions. You watched them leak photos of sitting out files of President Trump. Where's the photos of President Biden's documents? Where are those photos at? He knowingly knew this happened going into election, going into interviews. This is what makes America not trust their government. You cannot have one form of law because somebody philosophically has a different opinion than you, and you can't use the Justice Department to go after people that are politically different as well. It has to be equal across, and what I'm finding what's happening with President Biden time and again, you go from a laptop saying it not only that it wasn't true, but utilizing your own friends to go into companies to tell them to say the same thing, to try to knock down information, to try to make sure the New York Post story couldn't be printed. You should be offended by that. You are of the press. You should be allowed to write even when you knew it was true. So.
It's not true that Congress has a priority to investigate Biden's handling of classified documents, but
Yes.
You don't think that Congress has a priority to investigate Trump's handling of classified documents?
Well, what's an interesting question to me is they put a special prosecutor on that. They raided Mar-a-Lago when he was gone. They came in with sirens and everything else, even though they had already met. They knew it was there. They said, put another lock on. They put another lock on it. Had they asked, they could have just picked it up. But why would they do that? Why would they go after a political opponent that way? Why would they leak photos and say all this? Why would they go through the former First Lady's clothing? Why would they go through his son's clothing? Why would they raid in the manner which they did? At the same time, prior to an election, you found a sitting president when he was vice president with top secret documents. Why did they handle that differently? We're in America. We believe in equal justice. Why did they not even tell America that that transpired? How did he sit before 60 Minutes knowing what he had done? How do we find out a second location and he's shocked by it? Why aren't you asking him these questions? Why doesn't he come forth to the American public? We don't think there needs to be a special prosecutor, but I think Congress has a role to look. Yes, last question.
I just want to ask you, as a member of Congress, have you ever used a lawyer or an attorney to clean out and ruin your office?
A lawyer or attorney to clean up. I have a lawyer. I don't know what point you're trying to get at, so help me further on the question.
Well, Mr. Biden said he sent his lawyers to move his office, so I'm wondering if that's...
No, I use my hands and my own, so I think it's kind of, I think if you call a lawyer to remove something for your office, he must have known ahead of time. So I think he has a lot of answers to the American public. The good thing about that is the American public has a Congress that can get the answers. Thank you all.